will do today, I have two sort of broad objectives for today. I will, first of all, I want to thank you all for showing so much interest in joining this course. So before you probably decide to continue or not in this course, I understand that you may want to know a bit more in person. So before I go any further, I just want to inform everyone that we are recording this class because we have received some requests for recording the class so that they can watch this later. And this may also be important from the point of view of any network failures that any of you may experience. So in case you happen to have a bad network during the time of class, you can watch the class later. Okay. So this is for your information that all the classes will be recorded, and whoever finally registers for the class and whoever is finally part of the class, either via auditing or crediting, we will send you the links for to watch the videos. Okay. So so with that, let's just begin. Let me give you an overview of the class. What exactly do we plan to do in this? And then if you have any questions, you can clarify over the. If you have any questions, please feel free to clarify them with me. And once that is done, I will begin the class. I'm hoping that I will have at least half an hour of actual teaching of the content today. That we also get a flavor of what kind of stuff will be covered in this class. Okay. So I don't know. I think all of you would have received the syllabus document that I had circulated. So if not, I will just share that with you. I will just share my screen. Give me 1 second. Arun, you need to keep admitting people as soon as they join, if possible. Thank you so much. Are you seeing my screen yet? No, right? Okay, now you must be able to see that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so so many of, I think almost all of you have filled in this form to enroll for the course, at least express your interest. So I just want to clarify that if you are a student of IISc, this does not mean that the registration is done. You will still have to. Can you not hear?
Sir, you're audible.
Yeah, we can.
But somebody said they can't. Okay, so maybe the problems at their end. Okay, so so this does not mean that you will be automatically in the IISc's role. So you need to make sure that you are registered on SAP, and then you need to register for the course on SAP. Okay, so if you decide to take the course to the extent possible, and if you are an IISc student, please register on SAP before the weekend, because I really need to know what's the final numbers are going to be. So far we have about 80 to 90 students who have expressed interest in the course. And logistically, it's actually very difficult to run this course with such large number. Usually the maximum strength that this class has is around 40. So and usually it does come down to that depending on when schedule and so on and so forth. So please register for the course via SAP to the extent possible by this weekend. But of course there's an IISc official deadline. As long as you follow, that's totally fine. Okay. And so today we're having the first class. So let me give you a brief introduction. So I am the sort of teaching instructor for this course, and if you so as I have already said, for this course I'm going to assume that you have basic knowledge of calculus and R programming. So what do I mean by basic knowledge of calculus? You might be comfortable being able to plot simple polynomial functions, sigmoidal functions, exponential functions, and maybe even some little bit of trigonometric functions. You also need to know the basic derivative and integrals of these functions. So knowing this will really help a lot. That's the calculus part of it. And very basic coordinate geometry, equations of straight line, how do you connect two lines if I give you two coordinates, an understanding of those. Okay, that's something we are going to assume. And second part of the prerequisite is that of programming. I have mentioned R programming, but it could be basically any language that you're comfortable with. The language that I will be using to teach you will be R programming. So when you do assignments, you are welcome to sort of, use other languages. That's totally fine, not a problem for us. So that's fine. Hey, Shoaib, Tanveen, can you ask Arun to make you the co-host? And can you keep accepting? Because I have a feeling Arun is not accepting people immediately. It just pops up windows on my screen. It's a bit distracting.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
Thanks.
ask.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the basic, so this course does assume that you already know a little bit of calculus or programming. However, to make sure that some of you who may have lost touch with this for a very long time, to make sure you are still comfortable in this course, the TAs of the course will be conducting extra tutorials. So they will be doing tutorials to make sure you catch up with the prerequisites. Okay. So when I am teaching, I'm sort of going to assume you know, but to make sure that everybody can catch up in the course, both the TAs who I will introduce now. First TA is Tanveen, who is a third year PhD student in our lab. Her email address is given here. And the second TA is Shoaib, who is also a third year PhD student. And they will be conducting tutorials on basic calculus and programming, and much of it will be in the first month of the course. Okay, and they will do a bit more if necessary later on, but so expect more than the scheduled course timings in the first month. But this is necessary only for those who would like a refresher. These tutorials will not be compulsory for everyone to attend. So these will be necessary only if you want to refresh your basic calculus and R programming. And for example, I had asked in the form, what is your comfort level in mathematics, basic calculus and programming, right? If you have picked good in both of them, there is no need to attend any of the sessions. If you have chosen fair or poor, I would very strongly encourage you to attend these tutorials. That way, it helps you really refresh your skills in basic calculus and programming. And these TAs will also be grading all the assignments, both the classwork assignment and the the assignments that are take-home assignments. Okay. Now that's the sort of broad course plan in terms of schedule and all. Now let me give you some overview of what are the points I'm going to cover. I'm assuming you have already read through this, so I will keep it a bit fast. So the basic idea of this course is to sort of become familiar with the process and purpose of theory and mathematical modeling in ecological systems, but you can also apply this to any biological systems. It's not specific to ecological systems. And sort of learning these methods will also help you not just learning esoteric subjects, but also how do we arrive at new ecological insights and new hypotheses, and the role of mathematical models in doing so. And in fact, if you think about biology historically, ecology has been the field where theory and mathematics have played a really important role. And in fact, a lot of the ecological hypotheses, especially in population biology, for example, or even in animal behavior, they both come from strong mathematical foundations. And so therefore, it is sort of apt that the basics of mathematical and theoretical biology is sort of something that every aspiring ecologist will learn. And some of the specific topics that I will cover will be single species dynamics and two species dynamics. And then in terms of mathematics, these involve learning something about nonlinear dynamics and bifurcations. and a concept called stability analysis. And once we have this, so I would say that, this part, the one that I have highlighted on the screen now, those are extremely sort of, important concepts that have applications, not just in ecology, in a large number of disciplines. So learning those topics will be extremely important. Engineers also use stability analysis. Physicists also use stability analysis. And the one that they use is not really fundamentally different from what we use in ecology. So these topics are not only of interest to ecologists, but more generally across a wide range of disciplines. Once we have covered that, I will introduce another topic called random walks, and how random walk, which is actually again a very developed in the context of mathematics, actually has lots of applications in ecology and evolution. And then I will talk about game theory and ESS, how we use them to understand animal behaviors and strategies. And then there is a very really interesting mathematical representation of evolution via Price equation. So I'm going to cover those. So these are the topics covered. So basically it has ecology of single species, predominantly, and also I will cover a little bit of two species. Two species actually will come towards the end of the course, by the way. And then basics of evolution using random walks, game theory, and Price equation. So basically basics of ecology and basics of evolution. That's what this course will cover. And while doing so, I hope that you will be able to sort of, learn all these skills. Not only will you be hopefully able to understand what is covered in the course, you will hopefully gain abilities to critically analyze mathematical models, and also gain some simulation skills on the go. But however, I also want to be cautious in saying that, just because you have done this course doesn't mean that you can now you have enough skills to, let's say, model a complex ecosystem or a complex biological scenario that your research is currently focused on. It is possible that to reach that stage, you may still have to bridge a good amount of gap. But what I'm hoping is that you may have learned sufficient skills in this course that you can learn those gaps on your own. Let's say you are working on a problem that involves metapopulations. I'm not going to cover metapopulations in this course, but what I'm hoping is that you would have learned about single species dynamics and tools that we use to analyze those. And I'm hoping that you will be able to now go to literature and read metapopulation dynamical systems papers, and then see how to apply to your research. Okay, so that's the sort of broad goal and what you can achieve from this course. Okay, and in terms of materials, there are two books I recommend that you have access to. One is a book on nonlinear dynamics and chaos by Strogatz. It's a really, really beautifully written book. We will not really go beyond chapter 4 of this book. Chapter 4, maybe chapter 5, but even chapter 5 in a very, very limited way. Okay, so as you can see, the mathematics content of this course is actually not remarkably huge. It's actually fairly modest. And a second book, which I very, very strongly recommend you have, it is called Primer of Ecology by Gottlieb. It beautifully teaches ecology using mathematical models and also empirical data sets. Okay, so that's one of the two materials. In addition, there will be various papers and revision materials. Those we will be sharing via the Canvas, for which you must have all received the email by now. Okay, so that's the sort of the academic learning objectives of this course, and what reference materials we use. So now, in terms of the schedule and how the classes work every week, it's a bit different from many courses. Okay, now Wednesday classes, which will be from 11:30 to 1, will be more of a typical lecture mode. Of course, I will take any questions we have as we go along. But in addition, on Fridays, it will be a very different kind of a class on Fridays. Fridays, I might teach a little bit as in a lecture mode in the first half an hour to 1 hour. And then what I usually give is, I actually ask you to solve a specific problem. For example, I have taught maybe and hypothetically, how to model, phenomenon X, let's say how populations move. I may now ask you, okay, now you have learned this, tell me, if I add some complexity, Y to this phenomenon, now come up with your own model. So, or analyze that model. So that's the kind of exercise that I will ask you on every Friday. So not only are you learning the models, you're also learning abilities to critically analyze and incorporate new scenarios on your own. So the idea of Friday classes is that you actually get some experience on your own to actually model. That's the hope. It varies how well it goes, because this year is going to be quite challenging given the fact that it's going to be an entirely online thing. And we will see how the group exercises work in Zoom. The reason why I picked Zoom or other platforms was that there is a feature called breakout rooms, and we will see how that works. Okay, so if that badly fails, it can fail for two reasons: because it's online, because if the class size is really huge, it might again fail. If that happens, then we will just revert to a second lecture class on Fridays. Okay, but we'll see. And one thing I want to emphasize is that this lab work will be graded. So, for example, that brings me to the next point, which is the tentative grading scheme. So, a large part of your grades will depend on the assignments which are take home and lab worksheets which are actually in the class. Okay, so in fact, given that this is an online year and the exams will be online, maybe these two may add up to 70%. Okay, so basically the exams will be a really tiny part of the overall weightage. So which means that attending the class and being present in the class and submitting the assignments and worksheets is really, really important. Okay, and I have put in some numbers here. This is really, I think, we have this class, whenever it is open for UG students, tends to have a fairly large number of UG students. So, this is just for your reference. This is not what will happen this year. This may change a bit. And I think the IAC has also changed the way it grades recently, A plus A, B plus B. So, you can sort of proportionately think of this also being changing a little bit. Okay. So, so this is just representative numbers. Don't take them too seriously. So that's about the way the grading will be done in this class. But I'm hoping that, so usually, let me also give you a sort of an idea. Students who actually attend most of the classes rarely get C. I think I usually the C students grades are ones who I don't remember at the end of my semester. So that means they probably haven't come to classes very frequently. It's only in those cases that you probably end up getting a C, but in a large number of cases you get A or B cases. Okay. So somebody is asking question: will this be an absolute curve or will it be relative? It will be some combination of both. Okay. So I'll come back to the timetable in the end. Is it okay? So I'll come back to the timetable in the end. So now this is the makeup policies, and I think you can just read through this. I don't think I really need to go through this. To the extent possible, make sure you attend all the classes, don't miss any classes, submit assignments and everything on time. The only thing is that the assignments get delayed. The only problem will be that we discuss solutions in the class, so which now makes the submission a bit redundant afterwards. But nevertheless, always submit assignments even if it's delayed. Okay, and I explain why here. Okay. And finally, academic integrity is really important, and please go through these links. The cheating and plagiarism is very rare in these courses, but if it does happen, there are serious consequences, so please be aware. Okay, it has happened very, very rarely, but it has happened. And when it has happened, the punishment is fairly strict. Okay, so please take note of this. I won't go through this in detail. You have the PDF with you. Okay, so that brings me to the sort of covering major points here. Now there will be a few questions that you will all have. I think a bunch of questions that many of you may have will have to do with the timetable, which is going to always be a very contentious issue. And the second one will be the auditing students. Okay, so we will discuss both of them depending on any questions you have. So so now maybe we can take up questions. We can either speak out by raising your hand or you can also write messages in the text. So do you want to first take up the timetable issue? So Rashi has a message saying second year UGs are having a clash on Wednesday. Is there a possibility of rescheduling the Wednesday session? Okay. So maybe, see, I can tell you there is only one other possible time slot for this, which is 10 to 11:30. There is literally no other time slot available based, depending on if I consider my own schedule and the departmental schedule, that's the only other time that's actually available, because the Tuesdays are entirely taken by other classes in the department. I mean, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Wednesday afternoons we have usually departmental seminars.
So we have classes on 10 to 11, so that won't work for me. I'm a third year UG, so okay. I like this timing.
So there will be, here is what I can do. There will be never a perfect resolution for this. What I will now do is I can come up with two. So the one slot is 10 to 11:30. The second one is 11:30 to 1. How about 2 to 3 on Wednesdays, Tanveen and Shoaib?
Third year undergrads have lab, sir.
So yeah, all the undergrads will have lab. That's why I usually keep the labs on Fridays. No, see, Monday to Thursdays we have somebody or other will have a lab, so that won't work either. And those who have a class on Monday, Wednesday 10 to 1 will also have a class on Mondays. No, I mean, if you have a class on Wednesday, I'm sure you will have a corresponding class on Monday either.
Yes, it's right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday 10 to 11.
Yeah. So see, here is what I can do. I can circulate a Google poll which works for majority of people, and I will just stick to the one that works for majority of the people. Is that fine? And whoever cannot take now, take it next year.
Plus, third years can't take next year because we'll be like doing our 8th
so
semester.
So do one thing, just I will circulate a form. So how many people have a problem with 11:30 to 1 now? Rashi, you said all the UG students?
So just the second year.
All the second year UG students. What's your
I'm
current
a third year physics major. I have a compulsory course clashing at this point.
For the entire duration, or what, is it up to 12? See, if it's only up to 12, I can do from 12 to 1.
No, it's from 11:15 to 12:15.
Okay, that makes it harder. How about second year UGs?
So we have our course from 12 to 1. So it's like complete overlap.
Yeah, I can only do so. I mean, this is, you all know, right? This is a problem that we will all face. There is only a limited. So Nikita, do you want to say something?
Yes, sir. I wanted to know, I'm a second year UG. Would you be opening your course to UGs next year? In which case, then we would prefer to take it next year instead of going through the timing clash issue.
Yeah, I can think about that, but usually I do it alternate years, for UG students, right? So I usually don't take UG students the alternate years. This year I will be taking. I can't promise that next year I will take. I can make some exceptions. I have made some exceptions in the past for somebody who would be, let's say, graduating and they would not have a chance at all, right? So for those cases, I do make exceptions. Or somebody, let's say, who is in third year and is almost sure to be working on a project on a related topic. So I make some exceptions, but I cannot promise.
Sir, actually, we had discussed amongst ourselves about the timing slash. So there was a proposed timing from our batch, which was like post lunch after 1 p.m. on a Monday or Tuesday. I mean, would that work?
But others may have labs, right?
Yeah. So I mean, others can suggest if they are having any issues with this.
But I think the problem, see, Tuesday, I think there are other CES courses. I don't know. I think there will be a clash with other CES courses. So
no, sir. Other timings doesn't really work. Like for third years, this times fits really well with our classes and doesn't clash. So.
Rashi, was it Rashi who spoke now or Deepa? I don't know who spoke right now. So can you just tell the exact time? Then I can just put it on the poll too.
So
Sir, so Monday 2 to 3:30 is apt for second year UG students, I guess.
Second year UG Monday to I will put this up on the poll. So I can put 3 times on the poll: Monday 2 to 3:30, Wednesday 10 to 11:30, Wednesday 11:30 to 2. Okay. Sorry, 11:30 to 1. All of them work for me, and when I send a poll to you, pick the times that work. Don't pick the time that's preferable to you. You have to pick the time that works for you. Okay. As long as there is no conflict. Okay. Then I will just check whichever has the maximum number of people who can attend. I will pick that. Is that fine?
So, but again, on Tuesday we have labs, third year UGs.
Mondays, no? Mondays, right?
Tuesdays.
How? But what if it's Monday 2 to 3:30?
So Monday, the chem minors have a lab.
So the thing is, it will just, at the end of the day, you're right that, somebody will lose out. There is, unfortunately, only so much I can do. And you also, I hope, understand, I really want all of you to be in the class, right? But at the end of the day, it's just, there will be a few people who will lose out. So what I will do is I will ask you detail about your name, email, which year do you belong to, and then I will give you these 3 options. Let's say if you are free on all the 3 times, no, you should pick all the 3 times. If you are free only on, let's say, Monday 2 to 3:30, pick only that time. Okay, so you should pick the slots for you based on that, and then whichever has maximum number of choices, I will just pick that. Is that reasonable for everyone?
So can you also include 3:30 to 5 on Monday? Or Wednesday, like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, one of.
Wednesdays I can't do anyway, because Wednesdays we have a faculty meeting and seminars. Wednesday I can't pick afternoons.
Okay.
And Monday 3:30 to 5 again doesn't matter to me. They are both equally fine. 2 to 3:30 and 3:30 to 5. Yeah. So shall I? Are we final with these 4 slots then?
So also I have one minor query regarding these things. Undergraduates generally have a higher strength to skew the polls as they want. So
compared
for third year undergraduates, only those people who are interested in this course are taking. Second years generally take in large numbers. So they can skew the.
So that's why I will make sure I look at which year you are. I'm going to look at that also. Okay, when I'm finally making the decision, yes, I will also look at, for example, because if you are in third year, you may miss, right? So let's say if there are just 3, now there will be a tougher situation. Say there are just 3 third year students who are going to miss. What will I do? I will just talk to you and figure out some ways for dealing with the problem. Okay. Okay. I will try to make sure as many of you can attend. I will send you this poll as soon as the class is over, and then we will finalize the times, because I also know that you also need to decide which courses to take and finalize everything. No, and it will be a very difficult thing for you, because you all take 5 to 6 courses, and that's not easy. Okay. So yeah, so this, so I think timetable we have resolved in a sense that, we know the algorithm to use. Okay. And I will keep in mind that third years will lose out on taking the course if they don't take this year. I will keep that in mind. Okay.
Sir, also regarding the labs, are they going to be for 3 whole hours, or is it okay?
Yeah, they will be for the entire 3 hours. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And in fact, at least in the physical classes, some people used to stay up to 6 p.m. also. If they, for example, took longer time to finish. Okay, so but online is a entirely different ball game. We have to be a bit flexible on how these things go.
So how are the groupings going to be done for the class?
I think there is an option to do random grouping in Zoom. I'm going to use that. A group size of, let's say, 4 or 5 people per group, and there is an option to do it randomly.
Sir, I have a question, sir, regarding the scheduling. So, we don't have any quiz. We are not planning to have any quizzes, right?
There will be no surprise quizzes and all. No.
So, sir, is it a possibility that we can was the recorded lecture for Wednesday and submit the assignments henceforth?
So the thing is, all the classwork will happen on Fridays. So Fridays, you should not have any conflicts.
No, sir, there are no conflicts, at least for second years on Fridays. So for the Wednesday slot, would it be possible?
That's what I will. So let's do. So that's a possibility, but let's not assume that's the only possibility. Okay. So what I will do is, if the number. So what I can always do is, let's say if there are only 5 students who cannot attend a class because of conflict, and then I will see if it's okay with our DCC whether they can watch. They are basically officially allowed to watch only recordings, and then they will, of course, therefore the assignments will not be missed or anything will be not missed. But that's not really preferred, because I really like the class to be as interactive as possible. Let's think of it as the last option. Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
Because that can also lead to its own set of problems. Okay. So Rucha has a question. What's the duration of the course? It's starting now. I think the last week will be either the first week of June or the last week of May. I don't remember the exact week, which is the last week, but think of it as end of May. So it's 3 months and 1 week, maybe. Yeah. Somebody asked how to raise. Udita has answered that question. Thank you, Udita. Okay. So any other questions on these issues?
Hello. So how does auditing work for people who are not IASC students?
That's a very good question. So now there are IASC students who want to audit the course, and there will be non-IASC students who want. Okay, by the way, some of you who are not IASC students have picked the option credit in the form. That mostly doesn't make sense unless you are from NIAS and NCBS, and I think maybe TDU, and a few of these, Bangalore-based institutions. Only if you are from them, you have IASC has an agreement with them to credit. But if you are from any outside university, I don't think your university will recognize our course unless there's an agreement. So if you have accidentally picked the, you can assume that will not be able to credit the course. Now, what does it mean to audit the course? So let me tell you just data. So then you make your own inferences. Usually, in this course, there are about 20 students who do want to credit. But by the end of the course, in fact, by the end of usually first month of it, is difficult to audit unless you also do assignments. So if you don't do assignments and come to class, you will realize that there is a concept you hadn't probably understood as well, and I'm going to use that concept in the next class. So over time, the first month will be totally fine. I still encourage all of you, if you can, continue to attend auditing, which is why I have written in the PDF that even if you're auditing, I very strongly encourage that you submit the assignment, because without assignments, I really haven't seen a single student who has been able to audit the course so far. But maybe there's an exception this year. So one way I think people can audit will be if you already are familiar with the topic, you're just trying to look for revision. So then auditing will work totally fine, because you're only here for revising concepts and getting refreshing your mind, trying to get insights, maybe a different teacher, right? So that I think will work. But if you're learning ecology for the first time, I think it will be challenging. I want to be very honest with that point. But that doesn't mean you cannot. Every year there are 2-3 students who audit and they do really well. Okay, they do as well as any crediting student, and even probably better than some of them. So it's possible, So, but I will leave it to you. You decide. So what I have. So I think to facilitate that process a bit, whether it's suitable for you or not, what I'm going to what I'm doing is that I will tell you when what I call module 1 will end. Okay, and by the end of that module 1, make an assessment. Are you able to catch up and continue? And that's totally fine. If you're able to continue, you're most welcome to attend the classes, even beyond those. And there is a second, because the classes will be and they'll be put on YouTube or some place. You can always, auditing students can also independently work to or if you think that your schedule will not permit attending every class, just stick to the YouTube videos only, and we will just maintain a different mailing list to send the links. I mean, in fact, we don't need to send the links to you every time, because once the channel is there, you will be able to find the videos on your own. Okay, so as much as I welcome all the auditing students, I also want to make it clear that success rate of auditing students is not very huge in this course. Okay. And okay, in fact, I have, I also want to tell you right away, there are about 15 ICER students who want to audit the course. I'm not trying to discourage you, but if you are still in your 4th year and doing 5 other courses in ICERs, I think you should just chill out, man. Don't bother with the course. Maybe it is a lot of work. 5 courses already, and auditing a 6th course, which is I wouldn't say the course load is too hectic for this. It's a moderate level course, but it would still be not very easy. Okay, but I think, as I said, by the end of module 1, you will probably know what works for you. Any other questions? Okay, one final question, one final point I want to make. So this course comes in 2 versions. Okay. Last year, unfortunately, I did not teach because I was had some other commitments. So for example, this year's course already assumes a basic prerequisite math. We are doing tutorials, of course, but we are already assuming basic prerequisite math. Alternate years, for example, 2022. I'm actually not going to assume that. So next year's course will be tailored it's specifically meant for those. Again, so if you are somebody who is currently an ecologist or a biologist, mostly working on the empirical stuff, next year's version will be actually more suitable for you. Okay, but that doesn't mean I'm not discouraging you to attend this. I just want you to be aware that there is also an opportunity to attend the next year's course, which is also why I do not take UG students in the next year, because for them that might be too, it might not be suitable for the same reason. Because the focus there will be a bit different. It will be really addressing to PhD students who don't have mathematics background, and roughly 30% of the classes will be revision of mathematics with UG students. So, who's fully going to miss out on the course for this reason. In those cases, I have made exceptions. But so next year's course will not be available for UG students, but it will be available only for PhD students or any students who require a mathematics refresher. Okay. Okay. So from my side, I have covered all the points I wanted to say. Is there anything that I have? And as I mentioned, there's also an option for audit students. Just we will send you the links to YouTube channel. You are welcome to watch them, and even post questions there. And TAs or I myself will also try to answer them as and when we have time. And another, if there are sufficient number of auditing students, I can also, let's say once in 3 weeks, I can also do a small discussion session just with you people. Okay, but what I would certainly like is a consistent attendance. Hopping in, hopping out. I was a student when I was auditing courses. I was extremely, a bad student. I would not go to classes regularly, and I realized over time that actually is really disruptive to the person who is teaching the class. So my request to you would be to sort of avoid that. So if you think that your regular attendance is difficult for you, watch the YouTube videos. I'm happy to have just separate sessions just to discuss with you.
So 2 questions. One
okay,
question,
just 1 second. I'll come back in a minute. Just 1 second. Yeah.
So earlier I had filled the Google form saying I wanted to audit. Now I wish to credit. So do I need to mention this to someone? Or?
You're from IASC, right?
Yes, sir.
Just refill the form. I will delete this in an email. I will delete your previous entry.
Okay.
Refill the form.
Okay. Second question. Canvas has an option to send messages to teachers and TAs. Would you prefer that, or do you prefer mails for discussion and doubts?
Let's keep everything to Canvas.
Okay.
Yeah, because that way everything is in one place for me. Otherwise, it will be spread all over the.
Yes, sir.
And also too many emails. If I am not there, TAs can also respond. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Do non-IAC audit students join the Canvas portal as well? As of now, we have added, but I think that may have been a mistake. We will take a call on that later. Tanveen has a point that from the perspective of Tanveen is the TA. From the perspective of someone who has done the course, it's important to clear the doubts in the class to get most out of it. Is it possible to shift the course MS Teams? No. It has a bunch of other problems which we tried in the previous course. So I don't prefer to use MS Teams. Any other questions before we start the class today? Okay.
Sir, I filled the form late, so I didn't get the link yet. So will I be getting it later?
Did you fill in last night or tomorrow morning?
No, today. Today morning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we will update the mailing list. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will we will be a bit flexible on the auditing students and how it goes in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then we will decide some sort of plan for the auditing students. So one challenge we will face with auditing students is, when we have the breakout sessions, imagine there are 80 students. There will be 20 groups. If I assume 4 people per group, it's really not possible to have an interactive breakout session from my point of view. So, so we will come up with a policy and get back to you on that. Okay. How do we do with the auditing students? Okay. So was there any other question? Okay.